It's finally time to talk about the Purple Line on Trains Are Awesome. No, not that Purple Line, the MTA Purple Line. No, not that MTA, the Maryland MDOT MTA Purple Line. This is a 16-mile or 26-kilometer light rail line planned to connect suburban communities in Maryland right outside of Washington, D.C. From New Carrollton in Prince George's County to Bethesda in Montgomery County, the Purple Line will connect 4 metro and commuter rail stops, enabling people to take the train from suburb to suburb without going through DC, and creating an essential new link in this region's transit. The Purple Line is perhaps most famous for its delayed opening date. Currently, the hope is to have trains taking passengers in December 2027, well past the initial estimates of 2022. Almost everybody I know in DC knows about the Purple Line, if only because they've heard the jokes about it opening someday. Wait, how'd that clip get in there? So why is the Purple Line so late? Well, there are several reasons. The line was off to a rocky start even in the planning stage when a town and a golf course along the line expressed opposition. Then of course Larry Hogan becoming governor was not good for transit anywhere in Maryland. He pulled $500 million from its funding, and during construction there were extra complicated utility relocations and contractor disputes. Unfortunately, pretty standard symptoms of modern construction projects in the United States. But what I think gets lost in this conversation about delays and budgets is that the Purple Line is actively under construction. It's being built right now as we speak. And I realized that although I'd lived in DC for a few years now, I had never actually talked about the Purple Line on this channel. So I decided to rectify this, see for myself how the construction is coming along. I walked and cycled across the entire 16-mile route in May and June of 2025 to document the progress. And now I'm taking you along with me. We'll start at New Carrollton, a station that seems to be perpetually under construction. So I am at New Carrollton Station in Prince George's County, Maryland. This is kind of a regional superstation because not only do the Metro, Orange, and Silver lines serve this stop, you can get on the bus, you can get on MARC, Amtrak, and in the future on the Purple Line. Now this place has been under construction for years. They just built this new parking garage and bus station. Amtrak is extending its platforms, and over on the north side of the station, they are building the Purple Line station. The Purple Line platforms at New Carrollton will be on the north side of the station, beyond this messy lot and the north side bus bays. The bus area is currently set up differently to accommodate for the Purple Line construction, including the addition of temporary bus shelters. I'm not quite sure what it will look like when the line is open, but when we walk over to the future Purple Line platform, we do get a sense of what that will look like. An island platform in between 2 tracks, the rails of which have already been laid. The tracks will extend a little bit beyond the station as well, presumably to store trains when they're out of use. Immediately west of the station, the tracks will curve to the north, eventually reaching the Veterans Parkway. So my goal for this video is to really follow the Purple Line route as much as possible. However, around New Carrollton, that is a little bit difficult to do because of road closures and roads that are inaccessible to pedestrians or cyclists. So right now I am where Annapolis Road meets the Veterans Highway, and this part is really cool because the Purple Line here is basically pretty much completed. In fact, they are test running the brand new trains along the Veterans Highway. Unfortunately, not only is it inaccessible, it is very dangerous to be there if you're not in a motor vehicle. But here's what you can see from the mall next to the road. So the first station after New Carrollton will be Glenridge, once again with an island platform. And it's looking much more complete, I might say. Immediately after that, there is the yard and the maintenance center, which, like I said, have already been built. This is where several of the trains are being stored and tested as we speak. The MTA has ordered 28 light rail vehicles from CAF. CAF is a Spanish company with a factory in New York State. With a length of 140 feet, that's 43 meters, these are the longest light rail vehicles in the United States. You guys, I really wanted to include a tour of the facilities and the trains in this video. I've been in communication with the MTA about it for a while now. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to arrange anything yet, but I will continue to talk to them. I've met some of the great people that work on this project, and hopefully we can work on getting a behind-the-scenes look very soon. For now, let's take a bus to the Beacon Heights East Pines station. That way we can avoid the lack of sidewalk on the Veterans Parkway. So here at Riverdale Road, the completed test section ends. The route curves onto Riverdale Road and continues towards College Park in different stages of completion. As part of the upgrades here, the pedestrian signals will be improved, which is probably a good thing. Walking here, can you picture it? Big purple trams running on the other side of the street. By the way, if you want to stay updated on the construction in real time, a great resource is to find and follow the Purple Line Instagram page. They post a lot of updates. Just last week, they posted about how they finished installing the tracks at the place I am now, at the underpass where the line travels underneath the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. Immediately after that, we come across a stretch of tracks still alongside Riverdale Road that already have the overhead catenary installed. These are the wires which the trains will use to draw their electricity from. And while the poles are up at several places along the line, having the wires up here, it's still pretty rare. It's very exciting to see. So behind me is the Kenilworth station. Now it's going to be elevated, as you can see. First elevated stop on our route so far. You'll be blissfully lifted away from all the busy traffic below. But it does look like there's still a little bit of work that needs to be done. Oh man, I am so excited to stand up here and film the trains when they start running. Also, the Kenilworth station will have some really cool artwork underneath the viaduct. A long curtain of color swatches will reflect the sunlight, illuminating the ground below. Every Purple Line station will feature some artwork, and the cool thing is that on their website, you can find the detailed design concepts for every station. I am standing underneath the Purple Line. So when the tracks come back down, they'll be in the median of Kenilworth Avenue. And over here, the rails are there, but they haven't been laid yet. There is ballast, and obviously the right-of-way has been reserved, but I'm not seeing any fences or anything yet. So definitely at a little bit of an earlier stage of construction than what we saw earlier. Going back to the elevated station again, I'm also really glad to see that an elevated alignment is being used here, because the Purple Line will have some street running segments, and there are plenty of grade crossings, and these are things that can slow a train down, particularly if they have to make a turn and obey the corresponding traffic signals. But here, it doesn't matter what the traffic is like below on Riverdale Road or Kenilworth Avenue. The trains will just soar over, which is a win for journey time. This intersection at Kenilworth Avenue and River Road I'm a little more worried about, since it has to turn at grade. However, the Purple Line will use transit signal priority so that when a train approaches the intersection, the lights should work in its favor. River Road then crosses over the northeast branch of the Anacostia River. For the Purple Line, a separate span has been built next to the road bridge to take the line across the river. It's one of several bridges that has been constructed for this line. And right after seeing the bridge, we will reach our next station. Behind me, the Riverdale Park North Station. We're in the so-called Discovery District. And as you can see so far, a lot of the stations have the same canopy design, kind of a sheltered area in the middle of the platform. It's glass, it's light, it looks very nice. At Riverdale Park North UMD Station, the artwork is already under construction too. It's going to be a pylon called Ascension and commemorate the early aircraft that flew here. After this station, the Purple Line eventually takes its own way and moves away from the road to curve and eventually run parallel to the Metro Green Line and the Mark Camden Line. Soon, the green and the trees make way for apartment buildings, which means we're approaching College Park. I'm quickly approaching College Park Station. Now, Apple Maps said it would take 3.5 hours to walk from New Carrollton to College Park. By strategically using like 2 buses for just a few minutes, I knocked it down to 1 hour and 45 minutes. But from this point on, I am definitely cycling. So one of the purposes of the Purple Line is to connect the different metro branches in Maryland. So after New Carrollton, the first metro station the Purple Line will serve is College Park on the Green Line. We're still in Prince George's County, and there's been a lot of progress here at College Park since the last time I was here. There's a whole platform built now. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the Purple Line will also connect all 3 MARC lines. So at New Carrollton, it was the Penn Line. Here at College Park, it is the Camden Line. So here they have benches up, fencing, a few rails. You can see they're working on the electrical work. Let's leave the station and get a closer look. The College Park Purple Line station will be a decent walk from the metro entrance, but the platform is looking very complete. As part of the construction, they're also building a new bus loop. You can see that the construction here is leaving quite a footprint. So this is really cool. To access the metro station from the bus station, you can actually use this temporary bridge to cross over the Purple Line tracks. Over here, we get a fascinating glimpse into what it looks like right before the tracks are laid. At College Park Station, the artwork will feature these red and white brick pylons, another nod to aviation. That's because nearby is the College Park Airport, the oldest continuously operating airport in the world. Though I have to say, the renderings for this station artwork are hilarious. Look at the tiny little Purple Line. So because of the construction, we pedestrians have this like protected little lane in the road. I don't know if you guys can see this, but this sign will say train coming. So the signals have already been installed, but they're not working yet. So now I'm on a road called Campus Drive, and this is where the Purple Line will enter a street running section, and a very interesting one. So I'm walking towards the University of Maryland, and this university has always been kind of a transit savvy school, so to speak. They have a bus network that is so expansive, and some of the routes are open to the public, that they're even included on the metro map, the metro bus map. But in 2027, rather than having just buses, the University of Maryland will have a light rail running straight through their campus. The tracks at this street running section have already been laid for several years. They were here when I moved here and visited this area for the first time. So I've come to the Rhode Island Avenue Trolley Trail. As the name suggests, this was an old streetcar line. It's a trail now, but I've come to it right at the point where it intersects with the Purple Line. So it's where a no longer existing streetcar meets a future light rail. Here you can see that the rails have been delivered, but not yet placed or fastened. There's still a lot of work to be done. As we're by the campus of the University of Maryland here, people can consult the university's construction notice page to learn more about road closures, construction projects, or signals being turned on. So we've got the rails fully laid and embedded on one side, and they're just starting on the other side now. So here we come to the point where the Purple Line will leave Campus Drive for a little bit to travel straight through the campus. And I just have to say, I find that so cool. I wish any school that I went to had a train running through it. But car people, not to worry. There's still like a 1,000,000-story parking garage you can park in if you want to. Sadly, it seems the construction has closed the road not only for cars, but also for pedestrians. So now I have to walk all the way around, even though there's a bike right on the other side, but it's okay. It's a nice day today. One thing I have noticed is that there's just stuff dumped along the line everywhere. Ew. Finally approaching a bike share station, which should help speed up my trip a little bit. Though, to document all of this, I am traveling quite slowly.
I have spent the first 5 minutes on this bike waiting for this light to change.
Over here is the Baltimore Avenue station. You can barely tell that there will be a station here. There's no platform or anything built yet. Still, the line is scheduled to be open by 2027. There are 5 stations that will eventually serve the University of Maryland, and when the line opens, students will be able to travel between these 5 campus stations for free. I think this is one of my favorite parts of the whole route. I love how the line makes its way through campus. Further along University Boulevard, the line is looking more complete, with rails embedded in the street and poles ready to carry the overhead catenary once it's installed. Also, as part of the construction here on campus, they are adding bike lanes. The next station will be Campus Drive UMD, and here the artwork has already been installed. The regular glass panels in the roof of the shelter have been replaced with stained glass, which casts a colorful reflection onto the platform.
This is amazing. When the tracks are in the ground, the poles are up for the wires, and the stations are built, you really get a good sense of what it's going to look like once it opens. I'm so excited to see this. So here's the real question. Are these speakers going to play music like they do in Baltimore?
We are headed to the last of the 5 campus stations, Adelphi Road. The construction on this segment is in a less advanced stage than a little bit earlier. The concrete base already has the rails laid in them, but the ground above them is still dug up. The tracks curve and are once again in the middle of the road, but this time in a dedicated median. We soon reach the Adelphi Road station, in a pretty advanced state. The shelter has been built and the benches have been installed. The artwork here is partially done too. The glass panels have already been installed, but eventually there will also be little sprouts blooming from the roof, so to speak. Right here, we're at the top of a hill where you get an excellent view of the tracks as they travel down University Boulevard. This will be a relatively long stretch without a station.
Welcome back to suburbia. Here, the purple line goes into strode median running mode. And sure, it's ugly here. The sidewalk is terrible, at least for right now. But when the line is completed, at the top of that hill, that's going to be one of my favorite spots to film the trains. Over here, we do have what looks like a dedicated right-of-way and tracks and ballast. So, assuming that they get priority at the signals, the train should be able to pass by crowded traffic pretty effortlessly.
The next station is Riggs Road. The artwork here has not yet been installed, but it will eventually be incorporated into the fences of the station once those are built. Nearby, the track installation at the intersection with New Hampshire Avenue was completed this past April. Across the entire line, about 50% of tracks have been laid as of this summer.
So I am at Tacoma Langley Crossroads Station, which is already a major bus station, and then once the purple line opens, it'll also be a train station. Now it's interesting because here we're right kind of on the border between Prince George's County and Montgomery County. So other than Metrobus, you can also get on the buses of PG County and Montgomery County here. Now when the purple line opens, the station will be in the median of University Boulevard, not in the bus station. And from the renderings that I've seen, I don't believe there will be a pedestrian bridge or anything. You're gonna have to cross the street.
So now we're in Montgomery County, Maryland, which means that as far as stations are concerned, we're halfway done traveling the line. There are 11 stations in Prince George's County, 10 in Montgomery County. And for this first stretch in the county, the tracks continue to run in the median of University Boulevard, though later on we will see some very interesting infrastructure. The next station is Piney Branch Road, which once again has a colorful stained glass roof. However, the full artwork here will feature colored panels on the sides as well. Finally, immediately after the station, the line turns off of University Boulevard and onto Piney Branch Road. We can see the large green masts on the street corners that will carry the overhead wire across the intersection. And then on Piney Branch Road, we come across a really cool feat of pro-fish engineering.
I'm at a really cool spot right now. This is the bridge over the Long Branch, this creek over there, and for 50 years, fish were not able to swim upstream in this creek. Well, the contractors here built this bridge in such a way that the fish can now swim freely through the creek. It's improving water quality, improving the lives of these fish, and it's just a really cool added bonus to this construction.
The stretch on Piney Branch Road is quite short. Almost immediately, the tracks make a sharp turn north to serve the Long Branch station. The traffic signals have been covered up, as this whole section of the street here is completely closed for construction. Long Branch Station will have side platforms serving the adjacent shopping center, the community center, and the library. Immediately after the station, the tracks curve again, heading west. Here we come across the ramp to the Plymouth Tunnel, the very first tunnel that we have come across so far. The Plymouth Tunnel has a total length of 1,020 feet or 311 meters.
So this is really cool. Over here you can see they're building a tunnel. It's going to take the trains underneath the neighborhood, and there's even going to be an underground station. So now I'm on Plymouth Street, a very quiet residential street. Would you believe me if I told you there's a light rail being built right underneath us? I think the site for the underground station entrance is over there by that very messy construction zone. You know, a lot of them have been really messy, like stuff scattered everywhere. Sometimes you follow the line and you're like, how is it going to take another 2.5 years to finish this? And then other spots you're like, oh yeah, it's definitely going to take another 2.5 years to finish this.
See, over here there's a quieter residential neighborhood with some narrow streets. If the trains were to travel on the surface here, they'd have to make some very tight twists and turns. The tunnel lets them bypass that.
Now the detours are a little bit hard to figure out, but once you do, you can follow Wayne Avenue all the way into downtown Silver Spring, home of the World Building. Really. And in Silver Spring, the Purple Line will eventually go to the top floor of the Paul S. Sarbanes Transit Center, right next to the metro station.
Between Manchester Place and Silver Spring, there will be 2 stations, Dale Drive and Silver Spring Library. Once the Purple Line reaches downtown Silver Spring, it will travel under this parking garage, which is an absolute mess right now. And then it will end up on the top floor of the Paul S. Sarbanes Transit Center. The Sarbanes Transit Center really just is the bus station next to the Metro and Mark Silver Spring station. It's one of my favorite transit centers in this region, not just for how busy it is, but also because it has 3 floors. A triple-deck bus station is already pretty impressive, but because of the hills in this area, each floor is also at street level, so there are no ramps or anything. That's why when we approached the station coming from the east, it was as if we were at ground level.
So right now I'm at the top floor of the Paul S. Sarbanes Transit Center. As you can see, 2 side platforms pretty far along. You've even got like the yellow tactile strips. And then over there, they're constructing a pedestrian bridge that'll take you from the metro platform to this floor of the Purple Line station. If you remember last summer, a part of the Red Line was closed for construction. That was to build that overpass.
But as the tracks leave the station going west towards Bethesda, suddenly they're on this very high viaduct crossing over the street and the existing train tracks.
All right, it is time for the last leg of the Purple Line, Silver Spring to Bethesda, and I brought a friend. This is Bryce.
Hi, how's it going?
You all remember Bryce. Best guest on Trains Are Awesome.
Oh, goodness.
And yeah, we got e-bikes because we've earned it after doing the whole thing. Well, I've done the whole thing, I've earned it. And we're gonna go to Bethesda.
From this point on, the Purple Line construction is accompanied by an extension of the Capitol Crescent Trail, which currently ends in Bethesda but will eventually go all the way to Silver Spring. That's because for this last segment, the Purple Line uses part of the Capitol Crescent right-of-way. This used to be an old B&O railroad that ran from Silver Spring to Georgetown in DC, but it fell out of use in the second half of the 20th century. Here we are at the site of the old Spring Street Bridge, which was demolished. The bridge will be closed for all of 2025. Doing construction here requires a lot of coordination with CSX and WMATA, since overhead utilities have to be removed.
This is not real traffic safety.
We then biked past a protest of the sitting president. I could say his name, but every time I don't, I get a bunch of triggered comments that really boost the views of my videos, and that's kind of fun. Somewhere over there will be the future 16th Street Woodside Station. To keep following the route, we have to cross the tracks at the Talbot Avenue Bridge. Well, this bridge is done.
Yes, indeed.
And we got to cross over the Purple Line on it.
Sure hope not.
I wonder if this wooden railing is permanent.
Sure hope not.
And you said this bridge had a cool story?
Yes, supposedly it connects two communities that have been historically racially segregated. So it's neat that there's a bridge here now.
So we've come to where the light rail will finally split off from the MARC train and cross Stewart Avenue, which I'm assuming will just be a grade crossing. It's the most accessible part of the Purple Line I've visited so far. Not going to do anything stupid, but it's right there.
It's pretty great. The alignment is looking like a real railway now.
That's been my favorite part of this so far, is the Purple Line has always just been a line on a map in my head. And now it's some tracks on some jacks. Over there, we see another recently reconstructed bridge. We bike towards it and find ourselves at the Lyttonsville station.
At many points along the roadway, you actually walk over top of the tracks to enter the stations. Here's one of those examples.
I think this is my favorite example. So this is the future Lyttonsville station, and we're only 2 away from Bethesda now, but it's built underneath an overpass, and it looks like there's going to be multiple ways to get down to the island platform. You can take the elevator, stairs, or there's going to be a ramp. Very interesting. Lyttonsville Station will incorporate pieces of metal from the old Talbot Avenue Bridge. That bridge, which included an old train turntable, was demolished and replaced for the Purple Line construction. But its demolition was controversial. Just like Bryce said, the bridge connected neighborhoods where black workers lived with the neighborhoods where, due to Jim Crow, they were allowed to work but not live. So it has great historic value. So over here, I think there's going to be a smaller rail yard. We are pretty close to Bethesda, so they've cleared a lot of space for it. There's also a lot of space in this parking lot, and I cannot figure out what it's for because there are like a few small businesses here, but it's giving park and ride. But are they just going to wait here for 2.5 years, or are they parking for something else?
At least you can use this parking lot to do some mad tricks on your Capital bike share.
Show me. Whoa, those are some cool tricks. Bryce just did some cool tricks, but I had my camera pointed the wrong direction. I have noticed that it is a little bit harder to follow the right-of-way in Montgomery County than it was in Prince George's County. I felt like the tracks in PG just kind of followed the roads, but here we keep having to go in and out of neighborhoods to see different spots of the tracks. But once the trail is completed, of course, you can just cycle all along the tracks in Montgomery County. Here, we've arrived at the point where the Purple Line crosses over Rock Creek. This bridge was designed to mimic the style of other bridges crossing the creek. There are 2 spans. The larger one will carry the Purple Line, while the smaller one will take pedestrians and cyclists on the Capitol Crescent Trail. This is another one of those spots where I'll probably go to first once the trains are running, because I can't wait to see the trains with trees in the background. We are now in Chevy Chase, and this is the area where the city and the nearby golf course initially opposed construction of the Purple Line. There have been proposals to build a line along this corridor for decades. Montgomery County bought this part of the right-of-way in 1988 to eventually build a trolley from Bethesda to Silver Spring. These plans evolved into becoming the Purple Line as we know it today, but Chevy Chase leaders proposed running BRT on existing roads instead. Well, having followed the entire route now, I'm very glad they chose light rail and not a bus. They've invested in elevated sections and tunnels to avoid traffic in crucial sections. If you're going to invest that much in permanent infrastructure to speed things up, you should also run high-capacity vehicles.
All right, Connecticut Avenue Station, last one before Bethesda, and I'm so impressed. It's like in the middle of this high-density, walkable, residential neighborhood. It's very, very nice here. I mean, there is a big parking garage right there, but still, this is a very well-designed area. And may I just add that I love the modern buildings that look like old buildings.
This is an excellent bridge. I'm so excited seeing big infrastructure like this in place.
Now we're going to the very last station, Bethesda, where transfer is available once again to the Metro Red Line. Let me tell you, after crossing some busy streets and cycling down some narrow sidewalks, I'm very excited for the Capitol Crescent Trail to open here.
And so we have made it to the portal where the Purple Line will go underground and connect to the Red Line at Bethesda Station. A little bit hard to see, but what a journey this has been. You know, my main takeaway is there's going to be a lot of good spots to film trains once they start running.
Indeed, and that trail is going to be so much fun to take the entire length from Bethesda to Silver Spring and beyond.
So much fun. Thanks for coming along for the ride, Bryce.
On the other side of Bethesda Station, there is a section where some tail tracks emerge to the surface again. So that's the Purple Line, or should I say, that will be the Purple Line. Still scheduled to open in 2027, there has definitely been notable progress made. We've seen bridges, tunnels, and stations. And of course, while we haven't seen them today, the trains are here and testing. I also really like seeing that the project has tied in history, art, environmental protection, and improvements to cycling. I really think this line will transform the region. I'm looking forward to seeing it become a successful suburb-to-suburb line, with hopefully lots of places around the country that copy it. Hopefully they can make it by the expected opening date, but no matter what, I'm sure this won't be the last time we talk about the Purple Line here on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time.